Mr. Chancellor, it is my great pleasure to introduce Michael Sabia. Successful countries need excellent leaders who can catalyze rapid and significant change in all sectors: business, government, civil society. Michael Sabia is exactly this kind of leader. He's president now of the Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec, a leading financial institution that manages $130 billion in pension funds. Before joining the Caisse, Mr. Sabia served as president of BCE, Canada's largest communications business. Before that, he was chief financial officer of Canadian National Railway, and a decade earlier, he served as director general in the Federal Department of Finance. Transforming big institutions that matter is what Michael Sabia is very, very good at. With a unique combination of world-class skills in strategy and in detailed execution, and an unstoppable drive to succeed, he's remade some of Canada's most central institutions that enables them to function and indeed to prosper in the volatile new world of the global economy. In the language of his beloved Montreal Canadiens, and he enjoyed the team's exciting playoff run just as much as everybody else, Mr. Sabia doesn't just skate around with the puck. Every time he's on the ice, he drives to the net. This has resulted in many good things. Today, the Caisse is resuming its role as an effective manager of capital, but also as an animator of economic development across Quebec. During his tenure at Bell, that company built a national community development fund that supported more than 100 local projects across the country, in close cooperation, in fact, with Carleton University. Bell also helped to launch True Sport, now a national movement for inclusive, fair community sport. Furthermore, Mr. Sabia has used his prominence as a business leader to promote important causes, such as the federal government's HIV vaccine initiative, the Imagine Caring Companies program, and Centraide in Montreal. Michael's mother, Laura Sabia, was an influence on his life. A leading Canadian feminist, she demonstrated the same kind of conviction, focus, and drive that have characterized her son's body of work. Indeed, his is a family of nation builders. Both Mr. Sabia's wife, Hilary Pearson, and his mother-in-law, Landon Pearson, have received honorary degrees from Carleton University. In fact, Mr. Sabia's award today will make it 3 honorary degrees for this family, which I think is a Carleton record. So, Mr. Chancellor, in recognition of his outstanding leadership in corporate responsibility and community investment, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Michael Sabia.
By virtue of my authority, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Dr. Jackson, thank you very much for your very kind comments, and thank you all. Merci, bonjour à toutes et à tous. I would like to say Dr. Jackson was kind enough to make a quick reference to my mother, who spent a lifetime in the Canadian women's movement in the very early days, and I'd just like to say to Ms. Barlow, it's an honor for me to share the stage with you today, given that common history. Let me begin by congratulating those of you who are graduating, and I want to thank you for allowing me the honor of being part of what is a very important day. And of course, I want to thank Carleton University for this very generous, perhaps undeserved, but this very generous recognition. Now, to those of you who are graduating, I would say that there is a chance that you have made a tactical error. You have passed your classes, you seem to have earned enough credits to graduate, and as a result, you must leave this place and go out into, sometimes called, the real world. Now, one of the first things you'll notice as you leave this place is that your professors are not going with you. On first blush, that is a bad sign. Why? Well, because these are wise people, your professors, very wise people. And they have learned that university is a relatively carefree place where a serious problem is finding a legal parking place. So your professors are going to stay here, they're going to stay in university, and they will probably stay here for a very, very long time. Indeed, some of them will still be here after they pass into the next life, and they will continue teaching. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my understanding of tenure. So for all of you, this is a great day, a day of great pride, a richly deserved day, and a day I suspect of some nostalgia as you leave Carleton, a place that's become a sort of home. Now, it's in the nature of these occasions that someone you don't know from a time that you don't remember shows up and tries to offer you some advice. Well, I won't do that today. What I will do, though, is talk just for a few minutes about the world that you're heading into. A world where there's no curriculum, where everything is an elective, and where everything is moving at great speed. What's remarkable about our times is not that they're changing. That's always been the case. What's remarkable is the speed, the velocity, and the acceleration of change. And you've already experienced this in your own lives. 8, 10 years ago? No one had heard of Facebook or YouTube, really even an iPod, to say nothing of an iPad. Today, iPods have revolutionized the music business. iPads are filling the gap between smartphones and laptops. YouTube's the new television. And Facebook has changed the way that you connect with family and friends. Now, what's ahead? Well, that's perilous to predict because the future doesn't arrive in a straight line. You can't just take out a ruler, connect 2 points, and keep on going. But risky as predictions are, I'm going to suggest 3 trends that I think are likely to shape the world that you inherit. First, increasing interconnectedness, technologically, globally. Today, 1.5 billion people are online, and nearly 4 billion people have cell phones, tying them, connecting them to an ever-expanding global communications network. Soon, a truly flattened world. No part of the world beyond reach, instantly, significantly altering how we work, how companies compete, how countries organize their economies, and how nations relate to one another. In fact, the whole idea of national sovereignty is going to be turned upside down as economies merge together and borders become increasingly irrelevant to the daily experience of people everywhere. And yes, that will bring more volatility, and I hope with it greater opportunities. So for those of you who are interested in business, I think that means a truly global marketplace. And yes, the possibility of millions more customers. But it also increases the danger of economic contagion, spreading from one part of the globe to another. Today, there are no safe houses in the global village. Nowhere for Canada or for your businesses, your future endeavors to hide. For those of you interested in information technology, this interconnectedness is generating more and more data that needs to be stored, analyzed, optimized, and yes, monetized. Analytics will become central to business, science, and society because the volume of data is growing exponentially, but time is not. And so we'll need to organize data better, understand how it fits into a larger context, and manage its evolution in real time. So for all of us, a more interconnected world means understanding what happens when borders collapse and cultures collide, brought together by technology and trade. That's a huge challenge. Because in an interconnected world, those differences are going to bump up against each other like never before. The challenges facing you will be to find ways to break down barriers between societies and cultures, as effectively as my generation has broken down the barriers of distance. We may have used technology to connect continents. You need to find ways to connect cultures, a much taller order. La deuxième tendance, l'urbanisation. Une migration massive et mondiale vers les villes. D'ici 2025, plus de 220 villes de Chine compteront plus d'1 million d'habitants. 220 villes. Et juste pour vous donner un élément de comparaison, l'Europe en compte 35 villes aujourd'hui. Pourquoi est-ce important? Parce qu'en migrant vers les villes, des millions de gens passeront aussi de l'agriculture de subsistance à des emplois urbains. 70 millions de personnes chaque année se joindront à la classe moyenne. Donc, d'ici la fin de cette décennie, environ 40% de la population mondiale fera partie de la classe moyenne, comparativement à seulement 20% aujourd'hui, déclenchant une raz-de-marée de demandes. Pourquoi? Pour tout. So yes, an explosion in the number of cities, a doubling of the size of the world's middle class, and at the same time and along with it, increasing strain on urban infrastructure, on the supply of water, on the demand for electricity, and probably making the environment that we all saw in Slumdog Millionaire a reality for far, far too many people. Third trend, a rebalancing of the global economy, away from the West toward emerging economies, a trend that's already well begun. The number of companies on the global Fortune 500 from so-called BRIC companies, those from Brazil, Russia, India, and China, have more than doubled in the last 4 years. Increasingly, those economies are becoming the center, the real generators of innovation. Last year, for the first time, it was an emerging market company, Chinese telecom manufacturer Huawei, that led the world in patents. No American company was even on the list. So learning Mandarin, probably a pretty good idea. So 3 trends: a faster world of increasing interconnectedness, the juggernaut of urbanization, and a global rebalancing of economic power. Now, why do they matter, and what do they mean to you? They matter because they'll shape your world, and they matter because if you're going to understand them, and if you're going to influence them, and you should influence them, you'll need certain skills, frankly, different skills than my generation required, skills that you've acquired here at Carleton. Now, I know you've all worked hard to master the content of your courses, and yes, that's important. But in today's world, what will matter is not what you've learned, but how you've learned to think. Your graduating class has more access to more resources from more places on more devices than any generation in history. But mere access to information is not the same as wisdom. It's not even understanding. It's through education that you've equipped yourself with the ability to give meaning to information, to draw value from it, and to add value to it. It's through education that you've prepared yourself to succeed in a world in overdrive. It's through education that you've developed your intellectual agility. It's through that process that you've learned how to learn. And in today's world, to know how to learn all the time, every day, will be the single most important skill you can have. Now, I joked a little earlier about your teachers, but to state the obvious, none of you and none of us would be here today without great teachers, those extraordinary people who use their gifts to make a difference in the lives of their students. And it's not just about teaching a subject or a discipline. It's about encouraging thought, about prodding analysis, about applauding conviction. In today's world, we need more good teachers, and we need to more highly value the ones we already have. Why? Because they teach us how to learn. Ladies and gentlemen, 270 years ago this month, a Frenchman, I suspect you may not have heard of, Joseph Jacques Montgolfier, had the idea to put hot air in a balloon. And he was the first to fly in a hot air balloon. Now, it doesn't sound like much today, but he achieved a perspective on the world that no one had ever had before. Flying higher, seeing further, all because he applied his learning to daring greatly. So as you graduate today, I hope you too will use what you've learned to open up new vistas for all of us. I hope that you question, I hope that you try out new ideas, and that you test old assumptions, using the gift that you have been given, the gift of learning. I wish you all good things.